What's going on, everybody? Today is July 11th of 2023. And welcome back. Today, in this video, we're going to talk about the death of actress Andrea Evans, who starred on the famous soap opera One Life to Live. Evans has died at the age of 66. And the main topic of this video, what we'll be talking about, is the synchronicity and numerology about how this connects to a news story from the federal government. On the same day that Andrea Evans died at the age of 66, the United States Postal Service announced that it would be increasing the price of stamps to 66 cents. This price hike went into effect on July 9th. July 9th is the same day that Andrea Evans reportedly passed away. On this channel, we talk about the language of Gematria, an ancient number lettering system which observes the numeric values that lie underneath the letters in our alphabet. And it's a very simple language. It's all based off of the alphabetic order, 1 through 26, but there are a couple of other ciphers that are very significant. And what I want to start off with today is the Fibonacci method. This is the only folded cipher I teach. You'll notice it only uses the first 13 Fibonacci numbers instead of 26, because the 26th Fibonacci number is so large that this essentially becomes impractical at some point. Well, using this Fibonacci method, Tina Lord, which was the name of the character that Andrea Evans played on One Life to Live, has gematria of 606, which, with the zero dropped, as it customarily is in numerology, represents the number 66. In an extended method I teach called Latin gematria, based on Agrippa's key taken from ancient Masonic texts, this is the method I consistently say is the most significant in this study. Using that method, United States Postal Service has gematria of 1957. And it's interesting because the Postmaster General of the United States Postal Service, his name is Louis DeJoy. And it's widely reported that Louis DeJoy was born in the year 1957, on the date June 20th. Remarkably, this is just 2 days after the birthday of Andrea Evans, who was also born in the year 1957, syncing up with the numeric value of United States Postal Service, dying the same day that the United States Postal Service increases its price to essentially her age, 66, like her character's name. So in this video, we'll examine how her death connects to the TV series One Life to Live by the Numbers. But as this is connected to the post office, we're going to be talking about a deep riddle connected to Mercury, the god of financial gain. Of course, the post office is increasing the price of stamps for this purpose. It's also the god of messages and communication, which the post office is responsible for carrying. And it's always travelers doing this, drivers, pilots. Mercury was also a significant riddle in the 9/11 attacks. Of course, the World Trade Center also a centerpiece of American commerce, and the buildings even had telecommunications towers on top of them. Regarding the number 1957, we're also going to talk about how this connects to John F. Kennedy, who was killed in a car, a method of transportation. His vice president, LBJ, was then sworn in on an airplane, another method of transportation. The 1957th prime number, 16,979 days. Well, if you measure from the birthday of John F. Kennedy to his death, you get exactly 16,979 days, the 1957 prime number. Now, if you measure from the JFK assassination to today's date, July 11th, when the death of Andrea Evans first made mainstream news, we find that this was exactly 59 years and 33 weeks after the death of JFK. Notice how both John F. Kennedy and Jack Kennedy have gematria of 59, whereas the name Kennedy equals 33 in the reduction form of gematria. These reduction methods, also known as Pythagorean, reduce every double-digit number to a single digit prior to adding it to the equation. Now, before we go on with this deep post office and JFK riddle, I just want to talk about some of the more basic numerology that's being exhibited in this news story. A lot of this has to do with the numerology that Andrea Evans shares with One Life to Live, the soap opera that she starred on for so many years. Her full name was Andrea Lynn Evans, as we see here. And if we were to use the standard alphabetic order, notice how the name Andrea Lynn Evans sums to 169. This cipher numbering the alphabet just as it's ordered. A is 1, B is 2, all the way through Z is 26. Well, Andrea Evans was born on June 18th, which just so happens to be the 169th day of the year. The TV series One Life to Live first debuted on July 15th, which is the date that leaves 169 days on the calendar. In another significant method called Sumerian gematria, this is another cipher that uses the alphabetic order, but multiplies every number by 6, as 6, the first perfect number, the most significant number connected to time, which this is also a study of. Using this method, Andrea Lynn Evans sums to 1014. This is very similar to the gematria in the same cipher as Tina Lord Roberts, which sums to 1140. And when One Life to Live made its debut, Andrea Evans was exactly 11 years and 4 weeks old. The series premiere of One Life to Live had numerology of both 109 and 46. When the series ended in 2012, that date also had numerology of 19 and 46. Andrea Evans has reportedly died due to breast cancer. Notice how this also has gematria of 109 and 46. The character she played on the soap opera, Tina Lord Roberts, this name sums to 190, and she died on July 9th, which is the 190th day of the year, syncing up with breast cancer and the numerology of the series. Breast cancer also summing to 46. If you look at the birthday of Andrea Evans, you find that she was born on a date with a life lesson number of 46. This also a number of sacrifice. So let's talk again about how this all connects to September 11th. Now, coming up on this week, me and a couple of others had pointed out, not publicly, how this date syncs up very significantly with 9/11, and we'll explain how. First off, I want to look at the gematria of Tina Lord Roberts in Latin. Notice how this name sums to 711. And it just so happens that the actress who played the character, her death made the news on 7/11, July 11th. Also consider the date September 11th. In the ancient Roman calendar, September is actually the 7th month. Think about the prefix sep, meaning 7. So this is another nod to 7/11, just like this name. September 11th was essentially the Pearl Harbor of my generation. And the Pearl Harbor of the generation before mine was the John F. Kennedy assassination. My parents talk about this story, much like I talk to others about where I was on the date of 9/11. And John F. Kennedy is a massive Mercury riddle. First, consider how he was born in the year 1917. If we were to use square numbers, Mercury sums to 1917. Using Sumerian Gematria, Mercury has matching 618 Gematria with Kennedy's nickname, Jack Kennedy. 618 is a lot like the date June 18th, which is Andrea Evans' birthday. Kennedy was born at the end of May, which makes him a Gemini. And the sign of Gemini on the zodiac is ruled by the planet Mercury. Andrea Evans, also born under the sign of Gemini, so she too has a ruling planet of Mercury. In fact, she was born in the year 57 on a date with primary numerology of 100. This essentially makes her a super Gemini because in ordinal and Latin, Gemini equals 57 and 100. The zodiac symbol for Gemini is twins. In Latin Gematria, twins equals 1139. Well, if you measure from the 9/11 attacks, September 11th of 2001, to today's date, when Andrea Evans' death made headlines, you'll find that she died exactly 1,139 weeks after the Twin Towers were destroyed. Now, September 11th occurred under the sign of Virgo, which is the other sign on the zodiac that's ruled by Mercury. Using the alphabetic order, Twin Towers has a value of 166. And I think it's interesting that we have an actress from One Life to Live dead at 66. So essentially, if you take the numbers you see in the headline, you get 166, like Twin Towers. Now, anytime we see a story about a famous celebrity dying at the age of 66, there's usually a 666 riddle embedded within. And think about Revelation 13:18. When you take some of the phrases from this Bible verse, which reveals the number of the beast as 666, here is wisdom, number of the beast, number of a man, and his number is, all summing to 66, right? And when you add 6 plus 6 plus 6, you get 18. Andrea Evans, born on 6/18. Now, if you multiply 6 times 6 times 6, you end up with a product of 216. Of course, the moon, 2,160 miles across at its diameter. This brings us back to JFK, whose May 29th birthday leaves 216 days in the year. If you measure from the founding of the U.S. Postal Service on July 1st of 1971 to the date Andrea Evans died, we find it was exactly 216 mercurial orbits later. So the planet Mercury takes about 88 days to orbit the sun. So this means measuring from the founding of the post office to July 9th was exactly 216 mercurial orbits. In regards to 9/11, before I forget, you'll notice that 9/11 had primary numerology of 41, and Mercury in Gematria sums to 41. Looking at reverse reduction there. So let's talk more about the number 666 and how this is incredibly coded in. Next year, there's a total solar eclipse that passes over the United States. And the number 666 is a very significant eclipse number, as is typically linked in this post. Evans died a span of 275 days before that eclipse. And when you write out 666 in the alphabetic order, it sums to 275. If you were to write out 666 in Latin, notice how you get this value of 2038. Well, on the date of the 9/11 attacks, Andrea Evans was exactly 2,308 weeks old. Louis DeJoy, the current head of the United States Postal Service, when he took over as Postmaster General for the Post Office, notice how he was 23,008 days old. This is no accident at all. Think about how the Federal Aviation Administration was founded on the 23rd of August, the date written 23/8. And of course, the FAA logo has the winged foot of Hermes, which is the Greek equivalent of the Roman god Mercury. After JFK was assassinated, Lyndon B. Johnson was even sworn in at 2:38 p.m. All connected to the gematria of 666. Now, if you were to instead write 666, notice you get the same digits but in a different order. 2083. These numbers are also found in the gematria of magic square of Mercury, 238 and 2083. Well, measuring from the debut of One Life to Live to the death of Andrea Evans was exactly 20,083 days. Now, in numerology, this represents 283, which is a significant prime number, the 61st prime. And notice how her full name, Andrea Lynn Evans, equals 61. Her last name, Evans, also equals 61. And Andrea Evans died in the city of Pasadena. And Pasadena equals 61 in ordinal as well. There's another strong connection to 666 that I want to mention. Using the alphabetic order, when you write out 666, you get this value of 156. Just like triple sixes, 156. The World Trade Center, construction started 33 years before they were destroyed. The building was officially opened 28 years before it was destroyed. Both of these numbers summing to 156. With capital letters, the name Andrea Evans equals 156, just like Twin Towers in reverse. United States Postal Service, also 156. And on the date of the 9/11 attacks, Andrea Evans was 16,156 days old. This is all incredibly important because the 156th prime number is 911. So next up, I want to talk about how this also connects to the Skull and Bones Secret Society at Yale University. We've been talking a lot about both 9/11 and Yale this year for a pretty significant reason. The Skull and Bones Secret Society is stamped with the number 322. Order 322 is the nickname. In the alphabetic order, skull and crossbones equals 223, the inverse. And in the year 2023, Yale University turns 322 years old. When you measure from the death of the actress who played Tina Lord to the 322nd anniversary of Yale, you get 93 days. And the name Tina Lord equals 93 in ordinal. So this brings us back to Louis DeJoy, who has this June 20th birthday. This means DeJoy was born on the 171st day of the year. Now, this is the same 3 digits as today's date, July 11th, a number we talked about at length. Yale University was founded in the year 1701, which again contains these same 3 digits. The 171st prime number is 1019, which has the same 3 digits as 911. Yale University is located in New Haven, Connecticut. See how New Haven equals 1019? Andrea Evans was an actress on One Life to Live, and One Life to Live equals 1019. Her death fell 1,119 days after Louis DeJoy became the Postmaster General for the Post Office. Furthermore, her death also fell 19,001 days after the founding of the Post Office, July 1st of 1971. And the name Andrea sums to 119 in reverse. In Satanic Gematria, ritual human sacrifice is 911, similar to blood sacrifice, 611 in that method. Notice how Andrea Evans died 11 months and 9 days before her 67th birthday. Well, 67 is the number that Andrea Evans shares with One Life to Live. 67, a number we commonly see in stories about human sacrifice or blood sacrifice. So earlier we mentioned this strong connection between JFK and the post office, right? Dying at the 1957th prime number. The current Postmaster General and Andrea Evans both born in the year 1957. When JFK was assassinated in Texas, it was exactly 44 years after an annular eclipse that began in the state of Texas. JFK was also the winner of the 44th U.S. presidential election. Now, this is all important because the 44th prime number is 193. When JFK was assassinated, he was exactly 193 mercurial orbits old. Both John F. Kennedy and assassinated sum to 193 in reverse. Actress Andrea Evans also shares this 193 gematria, and her death was connected to the magic square of Mercury, which sums to 1930. Also notice how magic square of Mercury syncs up with Louis DeJoy, the current Postmaster General. Now, every planet that we can see with our naked eyes has a magic square. Mercury's is 8 by 8, and the planet takes 88 days to orbit the sun. But before I end this video, I want to dive a little bit deeper into this skull and bones riddle. So once again, the actress who played Tina Lord died 93 days before Yale University's anniversary, and Tina Lord equals 93. Consider also how this was a extremely significant number during the 9/11 attacks. Remember, we had Flight 93 was wrestled down by passengers. The first airplane that hit the South Tower, which was actually the second plane, but the first one on camera, struck just as the clock turned to 9:03 a.m. And when George W. Bush first addressed the nation, it was at 9:30 a.m. exactly. Like he was actually looking at the clock, you can tell. The two flights that struck the World Trade Center buildings were Flights 11 and 175. And these two flight numbers add up to 186. And think about Andrea Evans being born on the 18th of June, like 186. But also, 186 is the first multiple of 93. 93 plus 93 is 186. One of the planes even struck the 93rd floor of the World Trade Center. So this was a huge number during 9/11. And the reason this connects to Skull and Bones is because the president at the time of the 9/11 attacks was George W. Bush, who graduated from Yale University as a bonesman. That's right. He and his father, George H.W. Bush, both members of Skull and Bones at Yale University. Andrea Evans reportedly died in the city of Pasadena, California. Notice how Pasadena, California sums to 149 ordinal, and Pasadena equals 202 Latin. Well, in the ordinal and reverse methods, both Skull and Bones and One Life to Live sum to 149 and 202. In reduction, Skull and Bones has matching 41 gematria with Andrea Evans. And she died at the age of 66. Well, when you write out 66, it also equals 149 and 41, syncing up with all of these Skull and Bones numbers. When you write out Skull and Bones, either with the word and or an ampersand, you get 59 either way. So does the number 66, also 59 gematria. We're talking about the Postmaster General, Louis DeJoy. The name DeJoy also sums to 59 and 1059. Twin Towers equals 59 in gematria. So does the word kill. And when Andrea Evans died, it was on a date with primary numerology of 59. On television, she played a character named Lord. And notice how Lord equals 59 as well. Using capital letters, Lord equals 97. And this is another number that stands out because she died on the 9th of July, or 9/7. The Skull and Bones Secret Society is also known as the Brotherhood of Death. And in reverse, the word death sums to 97. And if you measure from her death on 9/7 to the next solar eclipse, an annular eclipse that passes over the United States, she died 97 days before that event. And notice how that eclipse occurs on October 14th. I think Andrea Lynn Evans equals 1014. Dying 97 days before the 1014 eclipse. Yale University celebrates its anniversary on the 282nd day of the year. Andrea Evans died 20,082 days after One Life to Live debuted. And on Yale's anniversary this year, One Life to Live would have turned 2,882 weeks old. Maybe I'm stretching here, but I found it interesting. Notice how Yale University has matching gematria with Andrea Lynn Evans. Yale also matches Evans in gematria. And to cap this off, Evans was born in Aurora, Illinois. And notice how Aurora, Illinois has a super match with Yale University. One last thing I wanted to mention is that I just want to talk about 9/11 before this whole thing ends. If you add her character's name, Tina Lord, to her full name, you get 262. And today is exactly 262 months after 9/11. There's a lot more that I want to get into, but I think we've shared enough for the sake of this video. So, thanks to everybody for tuning in, whether you're watching live or archived. As always, please feel free to check the links in the description for more information. I'll go ahead and link a couple other videos I made on Skull and Bones down below. If you'd like to support the work, there's a couple links for you there as well. Follow me on Twitter and other platforms. But yeah, that'll do it for this one. Peace, love, God bless, and we'll talk to you next time. See ya.